Let's rate every Goodwill in Manhattan. My name is Dani. Welcome to the channel. If you enjoy thrifting and upcycling, I think you'll really like this episode. I went to every Goodwill location I could find in Manhattan, and I'm gonna rate them for you today and share about my experience and the pros and cons of each one. And don't worry, I'm gonna link all the locations below in the description. The first location is at 1702 2nd Ave. This location is open 7 days a week from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. This is a pretty good sized location comparatively speaking. They do have a lot of selection here, especially for women. They also have dressing rooms, and not every Goodwill in the city has dressing rooms. I've never used the dressing rooms because there's typically a long line, so I prefer to wear something form-fitted like a workout set and try on things just in the store. I will say they have a lot more women's fashion than they do have men's fashion. There is a small section upstairs for men. One thing I've noticed though is that although they don't have a ton of home goods and decor, they do have some, and the things that they have are usually pretty nice. Like there's a good selection. Like the other day I was there and I saw a blender and they had this really beautiful marble rolling pin that I really wanted but didn't need, so I didn't get it. And they'll have like nice canisters or things that are unopened. Or another day I went and they had this really beautiful mirror that I wanted but I couldn't take it home with me. I just couldn't carry it all day, so I couldn't get it. But they tend to have a higher quality of homewares, even though it's not necessarily the biggest selection. The shoes for women primarily, because that's mainly what I'm shopping for, they're okay. I will say that they're okay. It's not the biggest shoe selection. I still have yet to find a pair of shoes that I wanted to purchase from there. I did see one pair that I loved, but the color was so light I knew they would just get so dirty in the city, so I passed on them. The shoes, in my opinion, overall at all the Goodwills in the city, this would just be an overarching note, I feel like many of them are overpriced. Most of them are gonna start at that $20 price point. I'm sorry, $20 for a used pair of shoes at Goodwill? To me, that's a little bit much, so it's becoming more and more rare that I'll purchase a pair of resale shoes. They do have a really decent handbag section though, I have to say, and it's not just handbags, it's like handbags and backpacks and fanny packs, so everybody could really shop in that section. They don't have too many additional accessories. Like there's not too many scarves and wraps and hats. Those are a little bit more few and far between at this particular location. One thing you'll notice though are the amount of donations when you walk in. I feel like they're constantly organizing, constantly sifting. It's not, I would say, the tidiest store, but when you see how many donations that they have, you got to give them credit because it looks like all the staff is overwhelmed and working around the clock to get all of these things organized. So there is a really nice selection here at this Goodwill. I have found so many pieces here, and when I shop here, I almost always do a haul. I'm not just leaving with one item, I'm leaving with a whole bag full. So for all of those reasons, I'm gonna give this location a 7 out of 10. Our next location is at 1496 First Street. So it's not that far from our first Goodwill. It's also open 7 days a week from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. This store is a really tiny store, but the upside of this is it is extremely curated. So this location would not be a place that I would suggest going to do a thrift haul. First, because they don't have a ton of inventory. So they're probably not gonna have a lot of items that you love that are in your size. But the second reason is because you can tell that these pieces are so curated, and because of that, the price point is much higher than your normal Goodwill. So these pieces, I would say minimum, are starting at that $20 to $30 price range, and they're going up from there. And I do feel like, yes, the pieces are nice. Many of them are new with tags or in near new condition. These items are not falling apart. They're really beautiful, and you can tell that they're looking for specific or higher end designers. Now, are you gonna find a truly designer piece? Are you gonna find Christian Dior? Are you gonna find Versace? Are you gonna find Balmain? Are you gonna find any of these designers? They're probably not, but are you gonna find some nice mid-level brands or brands like an Alice and Olivia that you may get at Revolve or Nordstrom's? Yes, you can definitely find pieces like that. They do have men and women's pieces here, and they do have a few little pieces of home decor, but not many. This location definitely caters to clothing. This would be the perfect spot for you to go if you're maybe looking for a specific item, or if you're in the neighborhood and you just want to pop in and see what they have, see if they have anything that catches your fancy. Because of the size of this location and because of the price point, I'm giving this one a 5 out of 10. Moving right along to 1114 First Ave. They're open 7 days a week as well, from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. This location does also have dressing rooms, which is great. And the other great thing is I've never seen a long line for these dressing rooms. I've been there and there's maybe been 1 or 2 people in front of me. So for me, that's fine. I'll wait for a dressing room at this location. This is another location that primarily features clothing items. They do have some homewares, and that area is pretty sparse in my opinion. The one thing that they do have though, that not all the locations really have a lot of, are books. I feel like there's a nice little bookshelf with some options. They also have some records as well. The other thing to note about this location is that I've noticed with most thrift stores, they mainly cater to women, and this location probably has the closest 50-50 split or division of items for men versus women, although I would say there are still less items for men than women. Since this location is smaller than the 1702 location, the first one that I talked about, I do feel like they spend a little bit more time curating their clothes just because they don't have quite as much space. I have had a lot of success here. It's funny, when I first moved to New York, I didn't like their selection, and then the most recent 2 times that I went, I really like what they have. So I feel like that's just part of thrifting. Sometimes they're gonna have pieces you love and sometimes they won't. That's why you really wanna thrift on a consistent basis if you wanna find the best pieces, in my opinion. Now, one unique thing about this location is that they do tend to have a lot of bins filled with scarves and hats and small bags and accessories, and those are kind of scattered all throughout the store. And they also have a display case. And the display case, it's typically gonna have higher end pieces that they're not just gonna leave on the floor. There's gonna be a higher price point. I remember one time I did purchase a little Coach wallet from them. I wanna say it was about $30 for the wallet. So the prices are still good for what they are. And I feel like this place, they just have so many great accessories. The shoe selection is pretty good. It's kind of hit or miss for me though. I have actually purchased a few pairs of shoes from this location and they were high quality, and actually, some of the ones I purchased were brand new. And that's usually what I look for when it comes to shoes when I thrift. So I do like their shoe selection as well. The last thing I'll say about this location is that they seem to be less crowded than the 1702 location, which for me is a plus. So because of that, and because I feel like they're just a little bit more organized and a little bit tidier, I'm gonna give this store an 8 out of 10. Next we have 103rd West 25th Street. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. This store, I have to say, it has a nice floor plan. So the racks aren't tightly squished together. There's a lot of space within this store to shop around, which is so nice. Something unique about this location is that the front part of it is very curated, and it features items that are on several different racks and on different displays that are at a higher price point. Not a crazy price point, but you're starting once again at that $20, $30 range, and you're maybe going up to $100. That's the general range of these items that are at the front of the store. Then as you go further back in the store, the prices are more consistent, typical, regulated. So for example, dresses for women are $11.99, skirts are all gonna be $7.99, and there's pretty standard prices. Now, this location, I will say that they have a lot of options, especially for women, for shoes. Oh my goodness. And the quality is so much higher, but the price reflects that. The bare minimum here is a $20 price point for shoes. And I typically see most of them at $20 to $30, but the very back row of shoes has an even higher price point, so much so that they don't even have the pair of shoes out on the floor. They only have one shoe out on the floor, and you have to ask for its mate if you plan on purchasing that shoe. Those shoes can range at around that $50 price point and up. And honestly, many of those styles, I don't feel like they warrant a $50 price point. Also, the handbags, they do have a lot of cute handbags. I have purchased bags here, And I am disappointed that many of them are from Zara, and I feel like for Zara the price point is often too high because these are faux materials. These aren't real materials that these purses are made out of. They are mass produced, and their Zara priced bags are beginning at that $20 price range. And then I've seen a lot of their bags that are $30 that are bags that you can find on Amazon, and I just think that that's crazy for Goodwill pricing. So I have purchased, but it's rare for me to get a handbag from them. Once again, there are more women's clothes than there are men's, and that's pretty standard. They do have very, very few home goods at this location, so don't expect very much in that department. They also have a display case, so they only have a few items at a time though that they're featuring in that display case. Could you do a haul here? I would say you have a 50-50 chance, depending on how much you're willing to spend. I think you can do a haul if you're willing to pay the higher price point for the items that are at the front of the store, because obviously those are going to be your better items. But I'd say you have a 50% chance other than that if you only want to focus on the standard priced items that are more in the back of the store. Because of that price point, and because I feel like there are quite a few items at this location that are regularly overpriced, I'm going to give this location a 6 out of 10. Now we have 7 West 14th Street. They're open 7 days a week from 11 to 7. I feel like my review of this location may give you mixed feelings. It gives me mixed feelings as well. I want to start talking about the cons first before we talk about the great things about it. First of all, the floor plan. It's not very convenient, and oh my gosh, you are really squished between a lot of these racks. They are packing this place. Now, the upside of that is that they have a ton of items because it's so packed, but it is a little bit annoying to just kind of shove your way through all of the racks. I feel bad because the staff at this location as well, they seem pretty overwhelmed with all of the restocking, and you'll often actively see them doing this as well as tending to the register. Now this location is unique because they do have a lot of items behind the register and things that they will display in the front of the store that you can ask for and purchase as well. So that's kind of a unique part of this one, and I feel like that earns it some extra points. I don't love their bag prices here. They start at that $20 price point. You can find some for $10, but I would say most of them are at 20 bucks, and then some are at $30. There used to be another Goodwill and they shut it down, and it was on 121st, I believe, and their bag prices were all $8. I got so many amazing bags at that Goodwill, and I feel like that price point makes so much more sense. So I'm really bummed out to see consistent higher pricing at all of the other Goodwill locations. One thing that's unique about this store is they have several displays throughout the store, and they'll have little home goods displayed just here and there. It kind of reminds me of an antique store where you'll randomly see a shelf with a set of dishes or picture frames or maybe pillows, things like that. And so that's something kind of unique about this, and I will say those items do tend to look a little bit more curated and of higher quality. There's definitely stuff I've seen and thought, oh my gosh, if I owned a home, I would buy these things because this is so cute. And comparatively, in the back of the store, they do have a nice selection of home goods and homewares, especially dishes. I've thrifted my dishes from my apartment from a ton of local thrift stores in Manhattan. Not all of them had the pieces that I wanted, but I was able to piece together enough silverware and plates for my apartment. Also unique that I haven't noticed anywhere else, and this is one of the pros, is they have a lot of sets. I've noticed for women, like at most thrift stores, they will break apart the set. So if you find a skirt that you like, good luck finding the matching top or vice versa. And at this location, they actually sell the sets together. And I love it. There's a rack, and it's where you'll primarily find all of the sets, and I love that. There is a lot of variety here, and I feel like this store probably has the most option for men, and they even have a lot of men's shoes, and they have a lot of women's shoes. They have women's shoes in the back of the store, and then they have them scattered throughout as well on different display racks. So be sure to check all of those racks for women's shoes if that's something that you're interested in thrifting. I like this store a lot though because I feel like it has a lot to offer men and women. I should have mentioned, in addition to housewares, you'll also find things like small pieces of furniture, like sets of chairs, large lamps, benches, hampers, things like that you can find at this location. There's some cons for the store, but there's a lot of pros, I feel like. And I feel like those pros outweigh the cons. And when I was there on one trip, I heard girls in front of me in line talking about how this is the location that a lot of the FIT girls thrift at. So with all of that considered, even though it's a little squished and a little untidy, I'm gonna give this location a 9 out of 10. I feel like I would give it a 10 out of 10 if it were just a little bit more organized and there was just a little bit more space to shop. Other than that, I love it, and currently it is my favorite Goodwill to thrift at in the city. Thank you for watching this episode about thrifting. I hope it really inspires you to get out there and start thrifting more in New York, whether you live in the city or you're visiting. Be sure to check out our thrift stores. I really enjoyed creating this episode. I had so much fun going out because you know that when I was filming for it, I did pick up a few pieces, which I will share in other episodes and of course across my social media. Don't forget, if you have any other questions, you can leave those in the comments. I'm happy to answer those for you. If you have any other video requests for the channel, please let me know. We have amazing thrifting in New York and I'd love to create more episodes for you, but I hope that you really enjoyed this one and that you'll check out these locations very soon. Thank you for tuning in, and don't forget to check out my other recent thrifting and upcycling episodes. I linked them in the cards and right here on the screen. I appreciate you, and I hope to see you very soon.